My boss fired me for not being a team player. I was the only one who spoke Japanese with their biggest client in Tokyo. The next video conference call they had was very, very quiet. I worked at a tech company for 6 years as their only Japanese translator. My entire job was managing our biggest client in Tokyo, a partnership worth millions. I didn't just translate words. I translated culture, tone, and the 1,000 tiny things that keep international business from falling apart. Last month, they gave me a cheap award plaque for my 5 years of service. They got the number wrong, and a round of applause that felt faker than a $3 bill. My manager Mark called me such a bridge to Tokyo. I smiled and said thanks, even though I'd saved their butts more times than I could count. Then things got weird. At our quarterly meeting, I spotted something odd in the budget report. 3 trips to Tokyo that I wasn't told about. I always handled Japan stuff, always. So I asked casually, hey, were those Tokyo trips in Q2 for internal meetings or client-facing? The room went silent. People looked everywhere except at me. Mark's jaw clenched so hard I thought his teeth would crack. We'll circle back on that, he said, clicking to the next slide way too fast. That's when I knew something was wrong. The VP, who usually joked about my language superpowers, wouldn't look at me. This new guy, Brandon, kept glancing at me like he knew a secret. They were planning something, and I wasn't included. A week later, Brandon asked to shadow me on Tokyo calls to learn the ropes. Brandon's Japanese vocabulary was literally just sushi and anime, but he had confidence and wore nice shirts, so apparently he was my replacement. Then I got uninvited from a Japan meeting. Brandon was on it. Mark was on it. I wasn't even copied on the email. My screen blurred for a second as I stared at it. Over the next 2 weeks, I watched myself get erased. No more Tuesday morning syncs with Tokyo. No more prep calls with Kenji before presentations. Brandon was in the conference room nodding at a Zoom screen full of Japanese characters he definitely couldn't read. When I asked about it, he said they were streamlining. Corporate speak for, we're replacing you with someone cheaper and dumber. My manager called me in for a performance alignment meeting. HR was there. They said I was too controlling and not collaborative enough. Translation. I questioned those mystery Tokyo trips and they didn't like it. They offered me severance to leave quietly. When I asked what would happen if I refused, they said they'd fire me anyway with nothing, so I took the deal. But here's what they didn't know. The night before, I downloaded every important email and document from our Tokyo partnership. Untranslated memos marked low priority by managers who didn't speak Japanese. Urgent messages from our Tokyo contact Sachiko that nobody had responded to in months. Questions about those weird Q2 budget charges that were never answered. After they fired me, I sent everything to Sachiko with a polite note saying I was no longer with the company, but thought she might want clarity on some lingering questions. Then I waited. 3 days later, an old coworker secretly sent me a screenshot. It was an internal email from the VP. Urgent. Tokyo client not responding. Last 2 check-ins ignored. Brandon joined the Zoom, but they dropped after 2 minutes and sent a message in Japanese. Need translation support as soon as possible. I smiled. Brandon apparently tried using ChatGPT to translate a follow-up email. It came out as, we honor your grandmother with great milk. Tokyo stopped responding completely after that. Last week, they had their big contract renewal meeting with Tokyo. No translator, no me, just Brandon, Mark, and a bunch of executives who don't speak Japanese. Sachiko spent 5 minutes speaking informal Japanese, explaining politely why they were ending the partnership. Nobody on our side understood a word. When they asked for translation, Sachiko smiled and said, since there is no interpreter, let us conclude here. Then Tokyo hung up. The contract worth $10 million? Gone. And yesterday, I accepted a consulting position working directly with Sachiko's company as their US liaison. Sometimes the best revenge is just letting people experience exactly what they asked for, silence they can't understand.